Hi, everyone. All right, for today's lesson, we're going to move on to adding text and adding effects to our text for our planner cover or for any document you want, business cards, flyers, anything that you're designing. In this case, we're doing the cover of our student planners. All right, so you should have a kind of a good start on your background already. This is just a basic brush I added, not a lot to it. I'm going to add more later, but let's move on to our text. All right, so I'm going to start with my type tool, which is right here, or the shortcut is T for type. And let's go ahead and click that. And I will give you a little bit of a hint. To start off, it is easiest if you start off with a large font to begin with, okay? It's just going to help you find it. Sometimes it's really small and it's really hard to see. So I'm going to change the size before I add text. All right, and I'm going to click in the middle of the page right here. And let's go ahead and add our text. Oh, there we go. And I'm going to type Rupa Valley. All right. Now, to change the font, I'm going to highlight this again. So if you are just entering text and we change the font, it's not going to. You need to select your text and come up here to the font name. And right now this is on Deja Vu. I'm going to choose a large font for the sake of this video. All right, so let's just go to Distant Galaxy. Let's start with that. Now, you could come up here to the size font and edit the size, but I find it easier if we switch from the type tool up to our selection tool, to our move tool. Okay, and then what we can do from there is when we're on our move tool, what you need to do is click on this transform controls, and that allows you to grab this corner bounding box, and you can just click and drag. Now, when you're changing this font, changing the size of the font, please make sure you hold Shift. That will hold the font in the ratio that the designer designed it as. This is how it was designed to look. All right. Now, this time I will not hold Shift, and you could stretch it however you want to. Now, obviously, this is not the original intention of the designer. So when you hold Shift, that holds it. Let go of Shift, it changes proportion. So I'm going to hold Shift. Now, what you can do though is, I would say within 5 to 10%. If you want to stretch it just a little bit taller, you need a little bit taller, that's fine. But that's where it starts. Actually, this starts. See how the bottom, the horizontal part of this L is really thick versus the vertical. So when you, let me do this again. So here I'm holding Shift, and again, this is how it was designed to look. Now I do want to change the color of this. You've got to go back to your type tool, and I'm going to, you can click and you can drag, or you can triple click, 1, 2, 3. That does a select all, or actually just go Control A. Okay, but again, you've got to be on your type tool. And so let's try that one more time. So here I'm on my text, go to my type tool, and I'm gonna click there. So I'm actually editing if I wanted. If you misspelled it or something like that, you can edit. Now I'm gonna go Control A. Okay, and let's come up here to the font color, and let's just change this to white. All right. So here I've got my font. We're just going to go with this for the sake of the video. I'm not too fond of the font, but that's irrelevant right now. Let's just talk about what I want to talk about, which are these. Oops, let me zoom out. What's going on here? Oops, cancel that. Okay, so let's go ahead and add some effects to this font. Let me go ahead and zoom in. I'm going to go Control plus, space bar to drag the page down, Control plus, and one more time. All right, so the effects I want to show you are down here on your layers toolbar. In Photoshop, it has it is F as in Frank, FX. In Photopea, it's a direct copy, so it has EFF for effects. I'm going to go ahead and click on this effects. Now, these effects actually work for things other than just then text. If you have a cutout picture, you got a clipping mess, you got a person, a cat, or a bird cutout, you can add all these effects. You can add an outer glow, which is kind of fun to play with. Usually that's the one, or a little drop shadow. All right. For text, though, I will just go over my two favorites. You can experiment with all these, but my two favorites are drop shadow and bevel and emboss. So let's go and work with this drop shadow first, and you shall see it kind of pop onto the side here. Now, let's zoom in a little bit more. Space bar. So there you can see that drop shadow. Now you have all these different controls right here. You want to make it darker, increase the opacity, or decrease the opacity to make it lighter. I'm going to leave it right there. You can change the distance on how far you want the drop shadow. Experiment with all these. I don't need to go through all of them. You can change the size. And even you could come up here and experiment with the contour of it. Now, there is a point where I would say that you can over affect something. This is just too much. So I like to try to use these effects, but keep it simple. But that's just me. This is your design. All right. Now, if you don't like the drop shadow, come over here to the little check mark and turn it off. And there you no longer have a shadow. Okay, the second one I want to show you is this bevel and emboss. So I'm going to go ahead and click the check mark. That's going to turn the bevel on, but to see the options, you need to click on it so it's dark gray right here. So click on that. All right, now I can change these. Now, this bevel, I'm going to increase the size of it. That might be a little bit too much. And change the depth of it, makes it more soft or harder edges. And you could soften it. Again, you could also change the contour, come up with some crazy effects on this. And again, you can have over affected text right here. You want to soften it, you could turn down the opacity. If it doesn't change much, change the layer blending mode to normal, and it changes color a little bit more what you'd be expecting if you change the mode to normal. All right, so as you can see, this little bevel and emboss just gives it dimension. It gives it like roundness to it. Again, let me turn this off. There's a flat, just basic font. There's the bevel and emboss. Again, you can play with all these. If you want to add a border, add an outline, we can add a stroke right here and change the color to whatever you want to. And again, so forth. All right, and again, if you don't like what you end up having at the end, just go ahead and turn that off. Oops, there we go, I missed the check mark. Go and click OK. All right, let me uncheck this. So once you're happy with the effects, again, you don't have to use effects, but there are some nice subtle ones that you can. And if you change your mind later, just come back and we can turn these off. All right. But again, that was adding type tool today and adding effects to the layer. All right. Hope that helps. Have fun with it. Good luck on your covers.